Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. Glad to have you here. If you're new to the channel, I am a certified tarot reader, but I also am a former journalist, newspaper journalist. So my channel, when I do political readings, I try to blend both, in a very practical way, the information that we have available to us, and then I go to spirit to get better insights around that. I do want to acknowledge that a lot of people right now are feeling very anxious, very frustrated. Some people are just like tuned out, not dealing with politics anymore. But to that, I wanted to open up today to say, you all, let's take a look. Let's examine the incredible grace and beauty and true patriotism that Kamala Harris has displayed this week, right? She had to deal with, the disrespect that was evident by, I forget the senator's husband, Fisher was his name, who refused to, we saw it, who refused to shake her hand when she was swearing in new senators. But just her absolute ability to rise above these insults and this treatment, the incredibly beautiful and moving speech that she made yesterday for Jimmy Carter at the Rotunda. Just watching her example, I would encourage those of us who are getting frustrated, who do, on the border of just feeling like that's it, I'm tuning out. Like, just think about that. This is a time to show our patriotism, to show our resilience, to show our determination to stand up for what we truly do believe in, right? All right, having said that, I have decided, I want to make a quick announcement. I've decided to do a monthly meetup. Privately, I'm going to host on Zoom the first Friday of every month. I'll put a link to it below so you can sign up on my website. But spiritual politics is, I started reading this book, and it's written in 1994. But as we know, so much of what we're happening with, it's like what's happening right now, it's like deja vu all over again, right? Even going back to the 60s and civil rights and all of that. So there are many principles. I think that there are ways we can approach our politics in this time, in this era, with a spiritual bent. And I want to offer a platform where people can come together, build community, feel safe, exchange ideas, exchange information. And that is very much a part of today's reading that the guides have given me. Is this era of what I'm going to call information wars, right? Let's talk about Mark Zuckerberg's decision to just basically cave in and open up to the radicalization now of Meta. So Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, right? Threads is in big trouble. A lot of people are already talking about getting off of there. In addition, there's so many who have fled from X, the X platform, Elon Musk's X, to Blue Sky. So I think we're going to see more of that. The guides are saying we're definitely going to see more of that, you all. But this radicalization of big tech, that's the way that I got it this morning in my meditation. The radicalization of big tech. So Zuckerberg came out and said what he said. Big about face when he used to be, he banned Trump initially back at, after the election fraud 2020, 2021, after Jan 6. Banned him. Now he's like all up his behind, as is, we know, Musk, who's in big trouble. He's gone over, all of this nonsense with the European Union, Germany. He's spreading himself so far. Interesting piece that I saw on him, one of his biographers, I can't remember his name. Some of you may know. If you do, drop it in the comments. But there's a biographer who did an article, quoted an article saying, like, this guy is, for entertainment purposes only, this guy is, Musk is like truly a problem. Mental issues, drug use, admitted drug use, etc. So he's at this breaking point, and there's going to be a big backlash with him. Many of us have seen that coming, as well as the bromance between Musk and Trump is on thin ice. We're going to see that begin to disintegrate as well. Then we've got Jeff Bezos coming up, pulling up the rear here, also bending the knee, but now Amazon's giving a deal or licensing deal to $40 million to do some documentary with featuring Melania Trump. Why? So bottom line, big tech has been radicalized, has been co-opted. That leads me to, but here's the thing. Someone, and thank you for the question, someone was saying, Afefe, can you look into this? Why is Trump doing this December 19th rally at the Capital One Arena in D.C.? And that got me thinking, Capital One Arena is this huge sporting event or sporting venue, right? Dana White, Zuckerberg's decision to appoint Dana White, UFC, big Trump ally, you know about him, to appoint him to Meta's board. And that the guide started pinging, okay, so sports is the next MAGA frontier. We know that part of what they've been doing is in misleading people and drawing people in is to use social media, right? That's been a big platform. Joe Rogan did it with his podcast, etc. Steve Bannon's been doing it forever. But using these forums to attract a certain segment of the population that they think they can get their head, get in their heads. And apparently they've done it with some success. So I think that's what Spirit is saying. That's what they're doing. They've gone from big tech. Now they're co-opting media. Legacy media is in big trouble. ABC defamation suit that Trump won because George Stephanopoulos made the comment about Trump's convictions in terms of calling him a convicted rapist. And there you have it. Rather than even fight Trump on it, ABC caved. They paid the $15 million. So now we even have a CNN defamation lawsuit happening in Florida against a Navy vet who was a contractor involved in extracting Afghans back in 2021. CNN apparently identified him as a black market person when in fact he did have legitimate contracts to do these extractions. So now there's a big brouhaha, and that trial is happening in Panama City, one of the reddest counties in the state of Florida. So CNN is going to probably either have to settle or make a big payout for that as well. You all, podcasting and finding new avenues for information, to get information out. The guides are saying that is where the Democrats have to really begin to shift their focus. The broader messaging of ideals around the values that we have, the collective sense of obligation and duty to support one another, to support our civil rights, to support our freedoms. That's beautiful. But getting that message out, the mechanics of getting that message out, Spirit is saying that's what's changing. Remember, we've got this Pluto in Aquarius transit that is going to be happening for the foreseeable future. That is changing big tech. That is changing a lot of what we're going to be seeing happening in how information is used or misinformation is promoted through these different entities, right? But I think Spirit is saying, watch out. If the Dems can tune in and utilize, how do we then get to the people via podcasting, via Blue Sky, via other social media platforms, and not just be reliant on legacy media to get messaging out, right? Especially as so many people are tuning out. So I want to take a look at that. Number one, and thank you for, it was a lot to get out. So now I'm ready to get to some cards. So number one is, I want confirmation from Spirit, is sports the next MAGA frontier? Is that part of what is being planned with this appointment of Dana White to the board of Meta, with using arenas like the Capital One Arena, tying more into sports-oriented organizations? Is that part of the plan to increase or solidify, continue to increase the MAGA base? The Ace of Cups. My aces are yes. right? Ace of Cups. So yes, that is definitely a plan that they've had, and they've had it all along. We saw it being used very effectively during the campaign, the Nine of Wands, because they recognize people are going to get very fed up very quickly with now this emphasis. Trump promised them, lower price of eggs and gas, right? All of these promises that he made to working class and younger people in particular. But now it's all about the Panama Canal, Canada, etc. And we're going to look more at that as well. But there is definitely a concerted effort by them. The Four of Swords. How do we get our messaging through? How do we co-opt all of these areas? Big tech pretty much got them in the pocket, right? And media, legacy media, putting them on their heels with defamation lawsuits, with crumbling and eradicated belief in their fairness and ability to produce the news. So that's what's happening. This is a concerted game plan by them to basically get people's heads turned around. King of Pentacles. I feel like that's Dana White and or others who are about their money. They're grabbing the money, but they're also grabbing the hearts and minds of those who naturally gravitate to what they offer, right? UFC with Dana White, we have, wrestling, we have hockey league, we have others, NFL, they're going to try and pull in, but I've got a feeling there is going to be Spirit is saying there's going to be a Seven of Cups. People are going to have choices or need more choices about where they are going to consume their information, because there is truly the axis is tilted towards all of this. No guardrails, no fact checking, no, anybody can say anything, including Russia, right? That was part of what Zuckerberg came under fire for before, was how did you let all this election interference happen on your platform? So there were these gatekeepers, and now Zuckerberg just said, okay, fine, we don't need it anymore, let it happen. So Spirit is saying that's definitely what's up, you all. Now, I'm asking, will the Democratic Party, as it continues to regroup, shift focus, figure out what's going to happen, how to best, target the 2026 elections? I am not disregarding the idea or the possibility that something is still going to break between now and the spring, either to, in the more immediate future, to delay the inauguration, or if it does go forward, that we're still going to see some shocking and unexpected shifts. I don't know what that is. I just know that the energy right now, as we are all seeing, is so volatile, and it's so I want to say unpredictable, but that feels like it's not being planned. Like there are plans in place to stop some of what Trump wants to do and what he said he's going to do. He's invited the GOP MAGA senators down to Mar-a-Lago to, have a little powwow and try and pull them into, closer into his fold. I'm not so sure that that's going to happen. I'm going to ask Spirit. The MAGA GOP, and particularly the Freedom Caucus, the Empress, growth, abundance, that's what they want to do. They want to milk that feeling of having his support. But at the same time, among themselves, they're not, there's the high priestess, thank you, secrets. Among themselves, these GOP leaders among themselves have already begun to have conversations around making plans around how do we stop what we see coming. A lot of what we see coming. The Five of Wands, exactly. There is a conflict. And so even though they're going through the motions of making nice with Trump by going to Mar-a-Lago, don't be surprised, you all. I don't believe in their Their willingness to really stand up for the American people. They've already shown their willingness to cave by giving those last couple of votes to get Mike Johnson confirmed. So we know that they'll waffle, but Spirit is saying there's something in the air. Eight of Cups. Those who are aging, and the Ten of Wands, exactly. They're going to get tired of being forced to comply, or feeling like they're being forced to comply. And that's where this resistance comes in. But taking advantage of that resistance, going back to the Democratic Party, taking advantage of that resistance is going to require having its own information mechanisms in place. For instance, we have talking about podcasts, right? I talked recently about the one Kylie Kelsey, the wife of Jason Kelsey, doing Not Gonna Lie. And many of you responded to that and said you were going to subscribe to her podcast, listen to her, because she's left-leaning. We have Travis not hooked up, that I shouldn't say it that way, but in a relationship clearly with Taylor Swift. Travis and Jason Kelsey have a podcast called New Heights, right? And while on the face of it, they're highlighting just everyday issues around being in the sports world, but again, with MAGA having captured big tech, fighting media, major media, legacy media, and so kind of sort of winning that battle, right? So far. And now sports, the next frontier. There is an opening there, you all. And I am as Spirit, will the new leaders of the Democratic National Committee see that Four of Wands? Yes. And the Hermit. Thank you. Woo! Learning their lesson, banding together, Four of Wands. There is going to be, within the Democratic National Committee, we know that they will be selecting their new, the head of the DNC, February 10th? It's coming up pretty shortly. There's a watchful eye. That's the way the Spirit just gave it to me. There's a watchful eye. Two of Wands. How do we focus on our growth? And there is going to be a broadening and a recognition of how do we reach people, not just based on ideals. Like, how do we go to the people and not just depend on bringing the people to us based on shared values, a shared vision, the knowing what America really stands for, and freedom and liberty. This is going to be more aggressive. Point and counterpoint. How do we have more podcasts? The Sun. Thank you, Spirit. I don't even have to pull anything else. We're on it. The Sun. That's what's next up, right? Sports might be the new MAGA frontier, so they think, but that frontier is not going to get captured. There will be a struggle, but we are going to see the Democratic Party and leaders in the Democratic Party and activists, they just reminded me, like coming down grassroots level of people who are sports figures and maybe not outwardly saying that they are liberal or left-leaning, but recognizing the dangers of that. But the idea is harvesting is the word they just gave me. Harvesting a larger audience that will, by virtue of this camaraderie, by virtue of feeling like they belong, because that's what happened with a lot of people who were drawn to the MAGA base. They wanted to feel like they belonged, like they were being heard. I've got the Six of Cups. Exactly. This is coming together in spaces where people feel they belong, where they feel happy, where they feel accepted, where they feel supported. That is, if the Democrats will just be careful, pay attention, not panic, and continue to grow their audience, grow their connection to the American people through some other information systems. That's the word they're giving me. Systems. Whether it's podcasts, whether it's new media outlets, whether it's maybe there are more blue skies, maybe there's a blue sky, part two that will be released, but there has to be a building and a build up. That's what Spirit is saying, of where we get our information, where people can come together and feel like they have they are accepted, they have a place to go, to be heard, to be seen. That is the next place. It's going to be this shift between the old approach and a new approach. All right, you all? I think that's it. I wanted to keep this pretty short. Remember, check out the link to the monthly meetup that I'm going to host. I'll do some readings there, but I also want to use that platform to bring us together in a safe space, again, where we can share ideas. I'm very sensitive. So many people have emailed me, commented, being a blue dot in a very big red sea. So rather than drop out, tune out, go away, hide, we can't afford to do that. I think we've got to open up more and more spaces for people to gather and coalesce around what really matters to them, and to stay strong, stay resilient. And we do that by being stronger together. All right. Oh, last thing, talk about being stronger together. Wanted to end this with a good piece of news that to me hasn't gotten near the coverage that it should. The Pentagon, just made a settlement with a class action lawsuit brought by 35,000 LGBTQ vets, because they were under their don't ask, don't tell policy. They were, many of them were dishonorably discharged, no benefits then, because even though they had this don't ask, don't tell policy, if something happened that identified someone in the armed services as gay, they could be that could be a basis to dishonorably discharge them. Well, they got together and did a class action lawsuit, and 35,000 of them. And that lawsuit, the Pentagon has now settled. The Department of Defense has settled with them. They have now a process in place that they will be able to, I don't know that they get monetary damages, but they will be able to get those dishonorable discharges fixed, and therefore get their benefits that they are certainly entitled to. So womb, there's a boom, I should say. I don't know why I said womb. Like the divine feminine in effect, right? The womb, Mother Earth, Gaia, weighed down, maybe put her finger on the scale a little bit for that. But again, the notion of we are stronger together. And this class action, the fact that so many LGBTQ vets band together and filed this lawsuit, and the Pentagon had to relent and has in fact settled that lawsuit so they can get what they rightly deserve. So good piece of news I wanted to share with you all, and using that too as an example of we are stronger together. How do we continue to band together in other forums to advance democracy and hold on to democracy? All right, you all. I hope that was helpful. I'll talk to you real soon. Bye.